local news that matters. This is KLBK News at noon.
Good afternoon. I'm Sasha Wilson. Thanks for joining us. Former presidents and congressional leaders are at the U.S. Capitol to witness Joe Biden become the next president of the United States. Now, security in the nation's capital has been fortified for today's inaugural events, and the swearing-in ceremony looks different with a much smaller crowd because of the coronavirus pandemic. Skylar Henry reports from Washington.
Joe Biden swore the oath of office, becoming the 46th president of the United States.
So help you God?
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Speaking from the same place rioters swarmed just 2 weeks ago, he called for unity in America.
Disagreement must not lead to disunion. And I pledge this to you. I will be a president for all Americans. All Americans.
Mr. Biden delivered his speech in front of a sea of flags and not in front of thousands of supporters because of security concerns and the pandemic. Tackling the coronavirus will be one of the new president's top priorities.
We must set aside politics and finally face this pandemic as one nation. One nation.
The scaled-back inaugural ceremony still featured VIP guests and celebrity performances.
History was made when Kamala Harris raised her hand to take the oath of office, becoming the first woman and person of color to serve as vice president.
So help me God.
So help me God.
President Trump made an early morning departure from the White House.
I just want to say goodbye, but hopefully it's not a long-term goodbye.
At a farewell ceremony at Joint Base Andrews, he did not acknowledge the new president by name, while promising to be back soon.
I will be watching, I will be listening, and I will tell you that the future of this country has never been better. I wish the new administration great luck and great success.
This afternoon, President Biden will take executive action to undo some of President Trump's actions. In a nod to the support he'll need from Congress, Mr. Biden invited leaders from both parties to join him en masse this morning. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Donald Trump and his family went to Joint Base Andrews outside Washington, where there was a farewell ceremony. Ben Tracy is at Joint Base Andrews.
Mr. Trump's former chief strategist Steve Bannon pleaded not guilty to allegedly defrauding Republican donors as part of a border wall fundraiser. The president pardoned him overnight, but rebuked Bannon when he was arrested in August.
I guess this was a project he was involved in, but it was something that, the fact you can see I made statements about it a long time ago, was something that I very much felt was inappropriate to be doing.
Mr. Trump commuted the sentence of former Democratic mayor of Detroit, Kwame Kilpatrick, who is serving time for a racketeering and bribery scheme while in office. He also gave clemency to Chris Young. The 32-year-old was serving a life sentence for nonviolent drug charges and was advocated for by Kim Kardashian West.
There's so many people like him. I mean, you obviously can't get to know everyone. The laws really just have to change.
Sometimes it's facts and sometimes it's lies, but they tell you scroll down.
Another pardon went to rapper Lil Wayne, who is scheduled to be sentenced to prison next week on a weapons charge. The two met back in October to discuss a plan to help the black community.
We wanted a meeting. He's a really nice guy. He's really an activist in a very positive way.
Ben Tracy, CBS News, the White House.
Right now, the city of Lubbock holding a virtual conference about COVID-19 in our area. Catherine Wells with the health department saying that our case numbers continue to be manageable. We are seeing between 100 to 200 new cases a day, and she also touched on the vaccination efforts as well.
Last week at the Civic Center, the Health Department and Lubbock Fire and Rescue, along with many volunteers, administered 5,081 first doses to individuals in our community. On January 15th, we received notification that another allotment of 5,000 doses would arrive this week, and we were able to reopen registration. Appointments for all of those doses are now full, and we are currently in the process of vaccinating everybody that scheduled an appointment last week. The communication from the state is positive, and we hope that we will continue to receive a large quantity of vaccines each week. The health department
We'll have more on today's meeting this evening on KLBK. And this just in, Governor Abbott today announcing that the Texas Division of Emergency Management has established a new COVID-19 therapeutic infusion center here in Lubbock. They'll start accepting patients Thursday. They've been provided with Regeneron's monoclonal antibodies and bamlanivimab to treat outpatient cases of COVID-19 who meet certain criteria and who have a referral from a hospital or doctor. Now, we have that full release on our website at everythinglubbock.com. Well, 2 men are now in jail after a murder 24 years ago when several people recently came forward about it. This happened back in 1997, just before 1 in the morning, when police responded to a call in the 2700 block of East Colgate. That is where they found the body of Stephen Early Johnson laying in front of his home, and police later finding out that Johnson was outside when a car drove up and the driver asked him to come closer. Now, according to a warrant, an inmate says that the men were acting like they wanted to buy some drugs. When Johnson saw that one of them had a gun, he tried to run, but he was shot. And now 47-year-old Pedro Arevia and 44-year-old Fabian Madrid were arrested yesterday afternoon, each held on a $150,000 bond. Now, the jail inmate says that the whole thing started when someone broke into Madrid's house, stealing his safe, but there's no indication the victim is the one who did it. The man who killed a shopper in a Market Street parking lot last November, now indicted by a Lubbock grand jury. Robert Baker now facing charges of murder and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Now, you will remember that we told you he was arrested, accused of shooting and killing 44-year-old Jason Holloway at the Market Street on 19th and Quaker. Holloway was loading his groceries into his car when he was shot. Baker then went and fired shots at the United Express before heading to Covenant and shooting at his own car. He was released from jail in December after his attorneys argued that he suffered from hypoxia due to COVID-19, and his bond for the aggravated assault charge was lowered from $500,000 to just $15,000. Baker does remain out on bond right now. And police are searching for a 20-year-old Lubbock man who opened fire on police in the middle of a chase. In the early morning hours of this Monday, January 18th, officers responded to a vehicle burglary when they were led on a short chase. Joshua Tyler Garcia was in the passenger of the car and fired multiple shots at the officer's patrol unit, disabling the unit. Now, the Lubbock Police Department is asking for any information leading to his arrest. So anyone who knows where Garcia is encouraged to call the crime line. That number, 741-1000. One person is dead after a wreck in northeast Lubbock around 7:15 last night, with DPS telling us it happened near County Road 2800, North Farm Road 2641. 36-year-old Christopher Don Johnson was driving north on County Road 2800 when he left the roadway, then overcorrected before going back across the road, hitting a tree and rolling his pickup. Sadly, Mr. Johnson was pronounced dead on the scene. And Lubbock Fire Rescue out at a fire several hours last night after a blaze started in the walls of that home, creeping up into the attic. That happened near 104th and Orlando when the homeowners reported a possible electrical fire in those walls after their smoke detectors started going off. The fire was in a difficult area to get to, so a second alarm was called to the scene to help extinguish the fire. Thankfully, everyone did get out of that home safely. Coming up on KLBK News at noon, if you've been eating more cookies during the pandemic, you are not alone. We've got to look at the surge in demand for the sweet treats. That's next. But first, let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Nick Cranock. Nick, a pretty clear day. What are we expecting throughout the rest of the day?
Well, you saw overcast conditions this morning. Still seeing clouds in the sky. We'll continue to watch those across the area. The good news is, hey, the wind's not as gusty as it